Thousands of local sailors shove off from Naval Station Norfolk as tensions remain high in the Middle East. USS Gerald R. Ford set sail for deployment halfway around the world.
We're back with Drone 10 flying high above the USS Gerald R. Ford at the Lambert's Point Deperming Station in Norfolk. The carrier is changing its magnetic signature, which reduces the ship's vulnerability to magnetic and electromagnetic mines and torpedoes. We shot this video before the clouds rolled in. And
tonight, we take you on board the USS Gerald R. Ford as it gets ready for its next deployment. Ricky Matthews gives you a glimpse of what goes into launching and recovering aircraft.
Off the coast of North Carolina, a floating airport at sea, ready to defend America using new and advanced technology. This is the flight deck of the USS Gerald R. Ford, the most dangerous and, of course, loudest part of the aircraft carrier. The Ford was commissioned in 2017 and recently completed its first deployment. Through the ship are upgrades from the Nimitz class designed to support air power and warfighting of the future.
They've redesigned kind of the flight deck and how our flight deck operates. So our pilot house is further aft of the Nimitz class superstructure, which means we have a lot more flight deck in front of us.
That extra space is important when you're working to fit numerous aircraft on board. Inside the ship are the hangar bays, where aircraft are stored and maintenance is done.
A Nimitz class aircraft carrier is going to have 3 hangar bays, while we have 2. Some people may ask why we have fewer hangar bays. These hangars are much bigger in length and width, so you could store more aircraft in there.
Back to the flight deck, where it's a carefully choreographed spectacle in which everyone has a job to do. In Air Ops, they watch all that goes on, making sure operations are done safely and efficiently.
Our yellow shirts are going to be our all-rail aircraft launcher and recovery guys. They're controlling the gear to the 4 catapults we have on the flight deck. We have our purple shirts who are control the fuel.
Previous Nimitz-class carriers used steam catapults to get airplanes airborne. On the Ford, electromagnetic catapults, similar to those that help propel a roller coaster, are used to launch Super Hornets, Hawkeyes, and Greyhounds into the air from 0 to over 100 knots in mere seconds. To land, pilots catch one of the 3 arresting cables stretched across the deck. The Ford is equipped with advanced arresting gear, allowing for less maintenance and manpower to operate. Both of these capabilities allow the Ford to see a 25% increase in flights over the Nimitz class.
It's all about technological advancements, making the ship more ready for the future fight and into, the next 30, 40 years of naval aviation out to sea.
On the USS Gerald R. Ford, I'm meteorologist Ricky Matthews, 10 on your side.
Today, 10 on your side's Madison Pierman got a behind-the-scenes look at the USS Gerald R. Ford's COMPTUEX training. COMPTUEX is essentially a training exercise a carrier strike group needs to pass before they are eligible for deployment. Well, today, Madison Pierman saw fighter jet training exercises and spoke with the commander of Carrier Strike Group 12.
Our sailors out here are awesome. They do a great job every single day, every single night. They make our Navy's combat power credible day and night all around the world.
On Monday, a full behind-the-scenes look at USS Gerald R. Ford COMPTUEX training to get deployment ready.
The Norfolk-based USS Gerald R. Ford is getting deployment ready.
That's right. The carrier is undergoing several system tests. 10 on your side's Madison Pierman flew aboard for some of the training.
Yeah, guys, it was a really unique experience. We were flown out to USS Gerald R. Ford on a C-2, also known as a COD. We landed on the carrier, kind of like how the Navy's fighter jets do. You could see the runway there, and then you snag on a cable, and then you're landed. Then we were catapulted off the carrier when we left. It's about an hour flight each way, and the Ford is the largest aircraft carrier in the world. It was part of Ford's COMPTUEX training exercise. It's a test for the carrier strike group to be ready to deploy where the U.S. Navy may need them. Their deployment's going to be out to the Navy's 6th Area Fleet of Operations, which is the Europe-Mediterranean maritime space, replacing USS Harry S. Truman. Navy officials say there's potential for them to end up in the Red Sea, but I'm told sailors have been trained for every scenario.
I know that some of these aircraft and some of these sailors might go in harm's way, and we need to make sure that they're prepared. And CSG-4, the strike group that trains us, is doing everything, and it's great to see how agile that training really is.
Now, there has been some criticism from the public on costly missiles being used to take down adversary drones that are just a fraction of the cost. But Ford is planning to take them down in a more cost-effective way without compromising the safety of the carrier group. I'll have that part of the story when I see you again at 5:50. Madison Pierman, 10 on your side.
Back now with an up-close look at training on USS Gerald R. Ford. The aircraft carrier is often called the most powerful of its kind in the world. The crew recently took a specialized training exercise, making sure they were ready to deploy. Our Madison Pierman was on board Friday and saw the training up close firsthand. Hey, Madison.
I'll tell you what, everything's up close when you're next to those afterburners. There's no escaping it. It was a very busy day at sea, about an hour-long COD or C2 flight to get to the Ford. Once we got there, we got to speak with those on board the ship on everything from how the training has evolved in the last year to the cost of operating some of the ship's weaponry.
We're out here in our COMPTUEX advanced training. It's our integrated training exercise. This is world-class training for the entire Carrier Strike Group.
Rear Admiral Paul Lanzolata, commander of Carrier Strike Group 12, welcomed 10 on your side aboard USS Gerald R. Ford for her COMPTUEX training, along with the aircraft that accompany the ship.
A lot of the events going on in the Red Sea right now, that is a lot of air wing work. So the aircraft you see next to you, two F-18s, an F-18F, and F-18E. These are the aircraft that we fly.
As of Friday, the strike group is expected to deploy this summer to the 6th Fleet Area of Operations, replacing USS Harry S. Truman. Sailors have been training to perform in the unique battle spaces that they could encounter.
I know that some of these aircraft and some of these sailors might go in harm's way, and we need to make sure that they're prepared.
There is some criticism stemming from the cost curve analysis regarding missiles costing millions of dollars being used to shoot down adversary drones, averaging about $20,000 to $50,000 each. Last week, Admiral Daryl Cottle acknowledged new weaponry on the ship, the Coyote and Roadrunner, helping decrease the cost curve.
Attempt to get after the cost curve, give our commanding officers more options to engage the threat, and ultimately be more effective in defending the high-value unit.
Rear Admiral Lanzolata adds the reminder that strike groups utilize all assets available, including guns on nearby guided missile destroyers.
And that is a very effective weapon. It is not just for show. When you see a guided missile destroyer on the high seas and her 5-inch gun points, God forbid, in your direction, you ought to be thinking twice about what's coming next, because it's a very effective weapon.
Now, concern for the mental health of sailors was also part of our conversation. The Navy says they've taken steps to improve living spaces and are offering self-serve laundry machines as well. A pup from Mutts with the Mission's going to live on board to help keep spirits up. I've got that part of the story right now on WAVY.com.
But we start with breaking news involving USS Gerald R. Ford Strike Group. CNN is reporting a scheduled deployment to Europe next week could lead to a move for the strike group to the Middle East. Sources tell CNN that the deployment to Europe has been on the books since late 2024. However, due to the ongoing conflict between Israel and Iran, it may be moved to the eastern Mediterranean Sea. USS Gerald R. Ford's home port is Naval Station Norfolk.
And the USS Gerald R. Ford Strike Group will deploy from Naval Station Norfolk tomorrow. Nearly 4,500 sailors are headed out on a regularly scheduled mission to areas around Europe. Obviously, that mission could be altered given our unfolding situation in Iran. Several other locally based ships deployed last month, including the USS Bainbridge, Mahan, and Forrest Sherman.
8 o'clock, one of the most advanced aircraft carriers will deploy from Naval Station Norfolk this morning.
USS Gerald R. Ford will embark on its scheduled deployment amid conflict in the Middle East. 10 on your side's Kagan Hughes is live ahead of that deployment this morning. Kagan.
Yeah, Katie, Kiana, I'm at Naval Station Norfolk, where nearly 4,500 sailors will be deployed today. Now, the U.S. was already planning on deploying the USS Gerald R. Ford and is expected to set sail for places in Europe. While the military has not announced where the Ford is headed, the mission could be changed amid tensions in the Middle East. According to AP, this would be a third carrier group in the Middle East if needed, and the U.S. has been shifting military aircraft and warships into the region to protect Israel from Iranian attacks, with several other locally based ships deployed last month, including the USS Bainbridge, Mahan, and Forrest Sherman. 10 of your side's Nick Broadway is there right now. He's seen sailors say goodbye to their loved ones. He'll have that later today on air and online. For now, we're live in Norfolk. Kagan Hughes, 10 on your side.
Our other big story tonight, thousands of local sailors shove off from Naval Station Norfolk as tensions remain high in the Middle East. USS Gerald R. Ford set sail for deployment halfway around the world.
10 on your side's Nick Broadway has more from the command on what the months ahead could be like for the crew.
They're calling it the most lethal and powerful package the Navy has to offer. Set out on a regularly scheduled deployment, ready to evolve if things change. Is there anything that either of you want to say to your dad right now?
I miss him.
As the sun hoists itself above the Hampton Roads Harbor on a steamy summer day, families trudge through the humidity for one last glimpse of their loved ones. The sailors on board USS Gerald R. Ford shipping off to Europe. Perhaps on the minds of many, the rising tensions in Iran, days after the U.S. bombed 3 of its nuclear sites, and a rocky ceasefire deal with Iran and Israel.
Started early and we'll continue to pray until they go home. You know, you never know what's going to happen. I think the uncertainty is the scariest part.
One father we spoke with said there's some relief in knowing his son is on this ship.
Because it's the aircraft carrier, I realize if he's going to be on any ship, this will be the safest. It will be probably the furthest from the action because the aircraft take care of everything and it is the most protected.
It's a regularly scheduled deployment set up before tensions rose in Iran. Rear Admiral Paul Lanzalota says those tensions have not changed their plans, but they are ready to shift gears if need be. The commander says they did have meetings with USS Harry S. Truman after its return, getting intel about what the adversaries are up to.
I am not worried about our sailors. They are extremely resilient and awesome, and they've been trained to a very high level, to an exquisite, extreme level of readiness.
As the carrier left the pier, cheers and applause erupted from families and friends, joined by a somber atmosphere and a sense of pride. The commander says the deployment usually runs on a roughly 7-month time frame, though that can change. At Naval Station Norfolk, Nick Broadway, 10 on your side.